If it starts bogging my machine down, I'll have to kill OBS. But so those are our references. So what we're noticing on all of these is it's a straight thing with a rounded edge, right? So, oh, come on. Plug that in. Man, that's why I lost my cord.
Whoa.
Well, screw that. I'll do that anyway. Um, well, rounded edge, straight, ish, uh, like that, at that. That's basically a book, right? And then some sort of inset right here. And then inset. Unless you want it open, then it's going to go like this kind of thing, which we can do too, but we'll just save that for later. We'll go with that. And then, so we go in here, and it should be pretty straightforward. It always gives you a box, so that's cool. Make a box. That's the book. Let's do the one side over here. Put a loop. Do one. Grab that edge. Like that. So this is what I was saying. Like, if the book's far away, you don't need that much detail. Like, it could literally almost be this, um, where it's flat face, top face, back face, all that stuff. Slight rounded bit. When textures are on this thing, you're not going to notice. Not really, unless you're like this, right? You're like up on it and you see all the polygons. Um, having the geometry simple like this when you're modeling means you won't run into performance issues so much, and you can like copy a million of them or whatever, and it's not going to be an issue. Because later you can see if you can do it here. Should be randomized. So you can like jostle them or whatever and get some variation out of it, and it's not going to bog your machine down. Let's look at these real quick. So another thing, this is modeling related. Whenever you're modeling, you kind of want to keep it what's called on the grid. So that's like right now on the grid and 0, 0 when you're modeling one object kind of thing. It's useful for later. It keeps things clean. Because like if you have this object and it's like slightly rotated like that, and you're trying to extrude out and keep things clean and nice, it's gonna jack up all your stuff and just make your life difficult. So try to keep it straight. And on the note of the grid, I like to always have on this one right here where the snap options are. I always have it on increment. That way, like when I click this thing, I can hold. Not that. I can hold control. I guess it is, and it's if you see it snapping, it's snapping to each grid piece. That also keeps it clean because, like, if I click and drag, it's a -1, right? If I just drag and I try to eyeball it, it's going to give me some massive number that's hard to work with. So anytime you move stuff, also best on the grid.
Where is that option under?
So it's right here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are like your manipulator thingies right next to global and all that stuff. Okay. So this. I'm going to actually give us a little more geometry here. So instead of the 3, I'm going to do a little bit more. See how well this works. So we go over here. Wait for reference. Okay. So it looks like there is enough of a silhouette change like going from here to this kind of thing, like an inset that you probably would want to model that. Otherwise, it will look kind of like a box or a cereal box. So I can do is all of those faces. And probably just inset it. Let me do this real quick first. Why? Button. Okay, there you go. Book. Um, I think that's enough for now for the modeling. I mean, we could add in some like a lot of these old books. They're not going to be like super. Um, they're going to have flaws, right? Like bending flaws because they've been abused and used and dropped and that kind of thing. Um, so like this one right here, you can tell that it has like slight bow to it.
Mhm.
Um, this back on this one, there's like a pinch, like it pinches here, and then it's like kind of flattened back out. So there's those kind of like character traits that you can add to a book or add to an object. Um, currently, I'm kind of debating if I want to add that or not. Let's see, it's added, or at least a hint of it, right? It doesn't have to be much. Layer that out. Okay. So because it was the cube that was already in there, there's a material applied. If there's not, just added new material and call it book cover. And this is all so I can do the UVs. That's what it's for. Darkness just a tad, just so I can see. Right is it showing? Okay, there's our book. So UV, there's a couple ways to do it. I'll kind of do the way I think I normally do it. I selected everything. If you notice, there's already UVs on it. That's because it was a box. So it's like I'm still a box. Now I just have cuts in it. But if you were to apply a texture to this, it's gonna be all stretched and weird. Which I can see if I can do that. Wait, okay, yeah. So if you see like the 1, 2, 3 on the side is a rectangle, and then the same numbers on this other side aren't so much a rectangle, the more square-like. That is because if we look in here, we're doing my button. Oh, it is there. If we look at that, And we select those front faces. They're kind of that shape, but if you look at the side ones, they're also still kind of like this front shape. There's when in reality, those polygons are real squished. So if I were to take the UVs that I selected on the side and let's see if I squish them right. If I squish them, it starts becoming more in line with that. Um, let's scale this up so you can see it a little bit cleaner. See now they're all squares. So the goal with UVing is you want squares the best you can. There's gonna be instances where you can't do that, and or some might be stretched kind of weird. Um, but if you can get them more or less square, which that's not, um, that'd be best. Um, that way, like if you put a circle on your in your texture, it doesn't become an ellipse. Uh, if you can see in here, like see how this is all like stretched, like you can't even tell that there's a number. It's because when I extruded, it said instead of like so I extruded down like this, um, so the UVs stayed on that same line basically. So it's like stretching a piece. It's looking at a piece of paper from straight on instead of we want to see it from flat side. Um, so to huh?
Oh,
Oh,
like Brandy's.
oh, okay. Um, yeah. So to fix that, uh, there's kind of a few ways we can select the faces that we're wanting to fix, and then going into the UV um, window and right clicking and hitting unwrap, and it kind of unwraps it to its closest shape that's represented on the model. So like you can kind of here we move it off of there. You can see that do this too. I guess I can't do it. It's basically the same thing, right? This is if the book were like this, these tighter sections are back here, and then the front faces are over here, right? So it kind of flattened it out. This will be hard to work with, I think, because it's a little band, and how do we put it? How do we put it inside this box? Because when you let's see, when you make a texture, it all has to fit inside this box. So, or at least when you're painting a texture. Um, so that's where like the unwrapping stuff has to all fit in there in a way that makes sense. Yeah. So let's do that, right? Um, this is the tedious part where I'm just gonna do and watch. If you have questions as I go, yell them out. Okay, so we do that. Release. What I am wondering, I'm gonna think aloud here. Could I do that? I'm trying to think if I can group the faces in a way that makes it easier to draw on. Because I'm kind of thinking that the whole inside of the book, like books in general, like they have decent book. Um, ooh, thank you. this here, this here, they look the same, right? There's not going to be much difference in that, or there probably won't want anything different. So all of that whole strip can be the same, using the same texture or the same drawing. And then we want his face and probably this face and probably the spine to be able to be flattened out and stretched, on the bottom half of this square so that we can paint whatever we want on that without having to like mess with stuff. So I think that's what I'm going to do is separate the like this part in its own sheet, own flat sheet, and then the inside stuff to its own sheet. Will probably be the it's like I don't know if like y'all did this in school, like where you had to wrap your own books for book covers. Yeah, but, like we used to have to do it with brown paper bags. Uh,
Yeah, I guess I do remember in some art classes we would make our own sketchbooks and draw our things and
yeah,
wrap it all around.
yeah. So in this instance, it's kind of like that. Um, okay, so I don't need. I feel like these are getting in my way. I'm gonna remove them. I'm not adding anything. Okay, so let's do this. So I'm just selecting what I want to mess with. Inside here, I want it into a square strip. So Blender has an option or a way to do that where I don't have to like go in and move every single UV vert to be straight. Um, the way to do this is you be in face mode, select it all, or actually hold on, revert. There is one step before that you have to do. So if you notice these, they're kind of wobbly. This is wobbly and that's like at an angle. You need at least one of these polygons to be perfectly rectangular or perfectly has 90 degrees on all edges. And that just helps the program know what to do with it. Because like if I did what I was going to do and do the follow active quads, it's gonna be doing that. We don't want that. We want it to be a box strip. So, like I said, to fix that or to address that beforehand, you have to I'm gonna make this box a box. So you select two edges that you want to straighten out, or the edges you want to straighten out. And I can never, yeah. So I did align X. So it's just going to smoosh it into matching it at the exact same, you know, line. It'll be more noticeable on this one where I'll switch it to Y because it's going horizontal. And if you notice, boop, it moved it. So this going back to X and coming back to Y. So now this box has 90-degree edges. So now I can click this one here and I just hit A to select it all, but that box is still selected. And then it should, yeah, straightens everything out and doesn't make it all wonky. Um, Back in here, look, that's our texture there. So we'll move that down in here somewhere. I'm gonna swap this texture out soon because it's irritating me. I can't see anything. Okay, we got that. Let's invert that. So you can just hit Control I and it switches your selection to the opposite. So if I go back and forth. Yeah, it's like, yeah, invert. Okay, so these UVs are all jacked, so we don't like that. A quick way to kind of like clean it up before like going into the left panel is just select what you want. Go to UV. You can hit cube, which will basically look at it from all, was it 6 angles or whatever, and flatten it into sheets. I'll show you what that looks like. Let me get rid of this. You can't see crap. So if you notice, it put every angle that was over there into its own UV island, which is good for like quick texturing or quick UV because you have everything that's flat. There's no weird angles and stuff, but it's messy, right? It's too much to work with. Um, Another way to do it is go to an orthographic view that you're like uh, most intending to use. So like this would be the front of the face. We want that to be exactly what it is. You can hit UV project from view, and then that kind of puts the whole book on just one sheet. So it looks at it just from that angle only. Problem with this one is that when you rotate to the side, these right here, because we did it from that angle, they're not going to be they're going to be stretched because you got to imagine like if you have a paint can, aerosol can or whatever, and if I were to paint this monitor and I'm going just straight on like this, it's going to hit all the front faces perfectly. On the sides, it's going to try to stretch, right? Because if you're not going like this. So it's doing the same thing with that projection method. Um, to fix that, we can select the stretched sides and project straight from there. So now we have, let's see if it works well. So we have the spine and the 2 front sides. Um, there's that. Only other problem now to solve is that the front and back are still one, or they're still flat, right? This could be fine if our book has the same image on the front and back, or our object has the same image on front and back, or drawing. Um, I don't know that many books do that, right? There's always like a front face title and then a back face. It's usually kind of blank. So we'll want to separate that out as well. Let's see what I'm going to do. Is not do it that way either. I'm going back to costume. Oops. All right. So what I can do is let's see if this is gonna work. Okay, that kind of works. Um, so like now everything's boxed, right? We got the spine here, we got the front face, the back face. We can draw on it all as one continuous object, one continuous canvas. Um, so I'll move that up here. We'll invert our selection to the other thing. It's probably in a fine place. So this is what our UVs look like right now. We got the book the book face, spine, back. That top little U shape is all in this portion, in the bottom U shape. The pages are in the bottom. So now that's actually ready to at least do a first pass texturing. like open in Photoshop, start drawing stuff. So this is probably a good place for me to stop and y'all to ask questions first, and then make a book. So questions?
Um, I mean, you stated the specific tools that you use to do it the way that you decided not to go with, but I didn't hear you
Oh, the way
say
I
what
actually did.
tools you.
Okay. Uh, fair. Okay, let me show you real quick. So the way I actually ended up doing it. Let's see. I am going to. Oh, my bad. One sec. Just that. There we go. So the way I actually ended up doing it, um, the bottom one you saw that it was selected faces and just um, follow active quads, right? So you make
Yeah, to
make the
make
one
them all
box.
equal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I basically did the same thing for this one. But what I ended up doing was the difference. Let me get this back to a box shape. Um, what I ended up doing is I selected all the faces that I wanted to fiddle with this time, which was all that, all the ring, which goes all the way around, and the inside bit. What I did is in the UV thing, I selected all of it, and I just hit unwrap, which basically takes it and says laid out flat. So this is what I started with, and then I kind of straightened it out because it's um, it was angled. This is a good base for the book, but we don't want rounded edges because the book is not round. It's like if the book were like like that or whatever, that would be fine, but it's not. So from here, it's the same process as before, where you select an edge and you try to flatten it out. Same button. Go to the other one. Go to the other one. Face. Click that face that we just boxed out. Hit A for everything, and then follow active quads. So this works pretty well for like a box. You're gonna run into issues with organic shapes. So there's other ways to do that.